Good evening and welcome to the January 24th Town Council meeting. If you'll kindly rise and join us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I just have a couple of announcements here. First, the Town Council would like to offer our condolences to the family and friends of Don Botch, who passed away on Sunday, January 13th at the age of 85. Don was an English teacher at Merrimack High School. He was my English teacher, actually. And he also wrote for the Village Crier, which was a town newspaper in the day. Don served as selectman for the town for several years. And as well, Merrimack's oldest resident and holder of the Boston Post-Cane, Nellie Granger, passed away on December 17th at 97 years of age. Nellie held the Boston Post-Cane for 4 months. Our thoughts go out to Nellie's family and friends. A press release for our search for the oldest resident will be sent out sometime in the near future. The last date to file petition bonds over $100,000 is Friday, February 8th. The last day to file petition warrant articles is Tuesday, February 12th. Thursday, February 14th at 7 p.m. we'll have a meeting in the Matthew Thornton here. It'll be a regular meeting of the Town Council, and as well Thursday, February 28th, also at 7 p.m. here in the Matthew Thornton room. Eileen, do you have any announcements?
Yes. The ice skating rink at Watson Park is now open for the season to kick off for quite some time. To kick off the opening, the Parks and Recreation Department will be holding a free skate with a date night on Saturday, January 26th from 5 to 8 p.m. with music and hot chocolate available. Can I just, I don't know if it's appropriate for me to talk about this now, but we need to set another meeting up, special meeting. Is this appropriate, or should I do it some other time?
Town manager's report? Yep. I think it's appropriate.
It's my announcements. So,
Yeah.
okay. So, in order, because we haven't been able to get the contracts all final and buttoned up with all the language, we have 2 more. As I've told you, we have 2 more that are. We have 1 tonight, 2 more that need to come before you, and 1 has gone to arbitration. So. At least for the 1, we'll need to have a meeting before the 14th, which is not scheduled. So we have to have it by the 12th for all collective bargaining units.
Yep.
So I have a list of dates that are available in here. So we have Wednesday the 6th, then the 8th, and then, which is a Friday, and then, that's it. That's it.
What's in here on the other Thursdays?
Okay, so, Thursday, you get the Girl Scouts.
That's in the other room.
It's for this room.
No, Memorial Room. The Girl Scouts are in the other room.
Okay, so, nothing.
It can't be like the 11th?
So it could be the 7th, it could be the 6th. On the 11th, we have, the Conservation Commission's in here. Yeah.
My question is, how long is it going to take?
Depends on how long you talk about it. So,
Should be
it
short.
should be
15
very
minutes to
quick.
3 hours.
Not
I
even.
understand, 15 minutes.
It should be no more than 10 minutes, really,
Right.
if the truth be told.
Just an explanation of
So
what's going on.
there's no reason why we have to meet at 7. We could meet at 6:30 before the Conservation Commission meeting on Monday night, and
Whatever you want.
we'll
Uh,
do it at 6. just to
Friday
give
nights are
us-
not my best night. That's,
I would just soon leave it on a Thursday.
Conservation actually needs downstairs, not up here.
It says Memorial Room.
Which is the other one?
Oh,
that's the group.
Thank you.
I shoulda
would
hand-
recommend the
Thank
12th.
you.
thanks, Chris. I should have
12.
handed this to
Well,
somebody
the 12th
else.
would be ideal. That way, everything will be, sure, has to be wrapped up, and
The 12th?
that way we can.
12.
Yeah.
Just in case you get any
If there's snow, then you're in
petition
trouble.
warrant articles.
1/12?
Yep.
I mean, 2/12?
2/12.
12th is Yeah, but it fine has
Oh,
to with be me. by that date at the latest,
That's,
so.
yeah, that's the
What
drop
time?
dead.
So
And,
show up or
We
be
got,
square.
we got Toastmasters until 6:30 in Matthew Thornton room.
So what time are we meeting?
So,
I'd say 7.
7
7.
o'clock.
7 is the best for me, if it works for
What
everybody.
date is
It's
that
a pretty
again?
standard
The
meeting
12th.
agenda time.
Yeah. So if it is a
And
blizzard.
then we're gonna meet again on the
cruising could go.
14th? Yeah. For regular council, right?
It's been for
So why don't we meet on the 7th? The week ahead, on Thursday.
I mean, it doesn't matter with me. I was just thinking everything could would for sure be wrapped up at that point. Okay.
Fine, I don't care.
and also the thing is, we have, we've scheduled a mediation with the last union, and you never know, maybe after mediation, we'll have an agreement. So, you know, it's,
If we
I
can
think
make
it's
it
best
work.
to push it off a little bit.
Right, and if we can make it work,
Okay,
it's,
so fine.
all right,
So it's gonna be 7 PM?
yes,
On February 12th,
yes,
Lincoln's birthday.
yeah.
Okay.
Somebody's going to explain
He'll be
why.
happy to have us doing governmental stuff on his birthday.
Yeah. All right. Eileen, do you have anything further? Anything else? All right. Paul, did you want to speak to the highway first?
No, I was just gonna tell you the 12th because if you get any petition warrant articles, you still need to come in on the 12th to receive them and move them forward. So that's why the
Anyway.
12th makes work.
Oh, yeah, no, my question was, did you have anything on the highway garage you wanted to
Oh,
report?
sorry. I didn't hear you.
That's all right.
Yes, we do. We have good news.
I'm talking to my kids.
Yeah. Can I go home now?
Perfect.
we
Yes,
there
we do.
yet?
We have good news. We are actually moving in. So we started the move-in last Friday. We had our first official meeting in the break room this past Wednesday. We are wrapping up some small, minor punch list items that we need to go over. But basically, we're all there. They were very excited with this last storm, because they actually had almost every piece of equipment preloaded and in the garage between the new facility and the old facility. So once we get the demo of the facility, which would be almost every piece of equipment that goes out for snow removal, will be in the garage during snowstorms, which the guys were excited about. Actually, on Wednesday, 3 of them were in there washing their trucks,
Yes.
God bless you.
cleaning off the salt on their trucks. So it's,
God bless you.
but we are moving forward. In the next week or so, we'll have new gas pumps. The new gas pumps will be in. And then they are supposed to start re-siding the old highway garage in the next week or 2. So that's going to actually make it a complex, because both buildings will look very similar
Bless you.
with the same siding on it.
Yep.
So we are in the process of continuing to move along, but the good news is that we're in there.
Was it the uniform company pulled into the maintenance garage and dripped some oil on the floor and was panicking about it because it was so brand new? And I said, "Don't worry, it's it's over though. It doesn't have that perfect
Didn't have-
shine
It's not
now."
perfect brand new anymore,
So, thank you, Paul.
and it wasn't gonna stay that way for long.
No, it won't. Comments from the press and public. If you'd like to address the council, you could step up to the mic or the seat. And seeing nobody. Nothing under recognitions, resignations, and retirements. Under appointments, council's to receive an update on the activity of the Special Investigation Unit of the Police Department, and it's great to see you.
Thank you for inviting us.
How'd you get number one?
I'm not sure, but yeah, we know people.
You know people, your people talk to our people.
I wish it were that easy. I had to offer a lot of coffee. I'm just kidding, really. Thank you really for having us, and we really appreciate it. I won't try to take up too much time. I know I can be wordy. But I know, I've been told. We're here because a year ago, actually, the council was gracious enough to understand that we had a brewing problem in town. And I know it was difficult to hear about, because nobody wants to, think Merrimack has a drug problem or has a problem with any facilities in town, but it was becoming an extreme issue for us. I was concerned not only for the safety of the people in town, but the safety of the officers, and I came to you and you understood. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for seeing that there was something to do and accepting our proposal of adding a special investigation unit. So after speaking with Eileen, we thought it was important that you all hear over the last year what the unit has done, the successes that we have had, plus what's kind of happening right now, so that I can explain why it's important that we keep this going. I know in front of you, you have kind of the yearly update of 2018, and so far, 2019, it's only been less than a month, but as you can see, there's already some increases, and we've been busy. One of the things, and if you will indulge me for one moment, and I'm sorry, I know you guys want to go, but last week, being one of the only few females on a department, sometimes you are responsible for searching female prisoners. And unfortunately for me, our females were on midnights, and I was the only person around during the day, so it left me to do it. So I went downstairs, and I have the luxury of, I'm not involved in these investigations, and I say luxury, it's not a luxury, but I can ask questions about somebody's life and pertaining to nothing about the investigation that's going on. And I tell people they don't have to talk to me, certainly. This particular female, they had just arrested at one of the local hotels for drug activity. And she wasn't somebody that was on their radar. She wasn't somebody that, they had been watching for a while. It was just a happenstance. And they ran into her. She had drugs on her. So when I was searching her, I kind of just talked to her, just normal person, like, hey, how'd you get to this point that you are right now? And she's not very old. She's in her 30s. And for me, it's really young. So she's in her 30s. And I don't know if she was honest with me, but it kind of made me take pause. And she said, I have a couple kids, or a few kids, actually. I have a few kids that are also addicted to drugs. And I'm trying to help them, but she's, involved in everything that's going on in their lives, plus her life of drug activity. And she just simply said, I just can't get out of it. And I'm not suggesting for one second that our special investigation unit arrested her, it's going to fix her problems, because we all know that that's not the case. But I kind of just talked to her and just said, we can't help you. I mean, we can certainly point you in the right direction, but she's got to be the one who wants to help. And after I left there, I thought, oh God, I have to search another person. But it really made me think, you know what? This is everyday life. People don't know what's going on. Nobody has any idea. And if you don't think that your neighbors have problems, or your loved ones, or this or that person, everybody has some issue that they're facing. And it's here in town. It's not going away. What I'm going to give you in a minute is maybe we're helping keep it down, but it's not going to go away. And the work that these two officers are doing, especially Sergeant Castle has been assigned to it from the beginning. And I can't tell you the dedication that he's put forward. And it's not, I'd say, solving a problem. I don't know if there's a solve this problem, but he's combating it in a way that he shows compassion for people. We try to get them help when we can, but he also tries to keep our drug activity and our crime, at bay here. So I just want to say thank you to him, and thank you to you guys for what you have approved and done for us in the town. So that's where I went with that. I'm sorry. So as you can see, last year they had 101 arrests. Now, our department in total had almost 500 arrests. 101 of those were just by these two officers, and just based on drug activity. And that's not just the hotels. I mean, we do have other areas in town, and we do have residents that have drug problems, and they do focus on that as well. But our calls last year at all the extended stay, actually all the hotels, have increased. Even with our unit, they increased. And maybe it's because of our unit that they increased. And, they were more aware and they were contacting us more. But they did increase on that. 101 is pretty substantial for two people, 365 days in a year with days off and vacations. And they are just out there every single day doing what they have to do. Now, a lot of these drugs, we're seeing an increase. Again, I think we had talked about this last time in meth. This particular woman from last week was methamphetamine. So it's not just heroin anymore, it's meth, it's everything. We had an LSD this year already. So it's just, it's actually everywhere. They have produced 17 cooperating individuals, and what a cooperating individual is a person who's willing to give up information, certain information for consideration on the crimes that they've been charged with. And those people could range from anything from stopping them for having a warrant or operating after suspension. So they do it all. Now, unfortunately, this year already, they have 10 arrests, which is, it might be lower than the beginning of last year, but the arrests also coincide with 3 of our town residents. These aren't people who were visiting. These are 3 of our town residents who died in an overdose in one weekend. And, you know, we went back and forth on whether or not we should publicize that, but I'm a firm believer, and we have to tell people what is going on. And if one person knew somebody who had passed away and they were getting the same batch of drugs that might have been bad, and if we could have saved them, then that was worth it to me. I'll take the heat for whatever somebody has to say. I just think that, you know, as you can see through the numbers, 101 arrests, other offenses, already 10 arrests this year. Unfortunately, 3 overdoses this year and 3 deaths. Last year we had 28 overdoses and 7 deaths, which is still not great for our community. 1 is too many. But they really are getting out there and doing what we asked them to do last year at this time. So I thank you for allowing it to continue. We're not going to fix it. It's not going to be gone forever, but I think we can keep it at bay. Right now, it's at a level that we're managing, but that can change in a moment's notice. It depends who comes into town, who leaves town. It is everywhere, so thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Eileen?
Are you, when you first came here to talk about this, you talked about how the hotels, you know, people didn't realize that Merrimack actually had a police force and those kinds of things. And now that you have a good presence at the extended stay hotels, the word is not or all the hotels, I should say, the word's not getting out to these people that one after another, after another, after another, people are getting arrested?
The word is out. They do understand, and that is in
They
part.
don't care.
That's what it comes down to, is they don't care, because even with this woman that I was talking to last week, I ended up seeing her today in the lobby. She was in the lobby, and she had, not that you care, but she had a dog with her, and I was cared about the dog. And she said, "Thank you for being nice to my dog." You know, it's not that they don't care. It's just that they can't stop themselves. And unfortunately, when the people that we're trying to catch who are dealing the drugs haven't been caught, then they keep coming back because that's what they know. There is word, and especially we concentrated, like Eileen, like we had talked about throughout the year, with really participating in the Hillsborough County Task Force, and we help other agencies, they help us, but it's increased our numbers as far as pulling people to stop cars when we need to and do that. So word is out, but, and again, it's easy to say they don't care because it's probably really what it is, but I'd like to think that they don't have the ability to say, you know, I'm not going to go back there because that's what they have to do. On another note on that, we had a couple that staying at one of the residences for an extended period of time. They actually were living there. That was their permanent address. They were dealing heroin. He knows everything. So they were dealing heroin right in front of their children on a daily basis, constantly during the day. And we knew about it. We had some informants go in, and we were lucky enough to catch them doing it. So we were able to arrest them as they were going to a buy with the kids in the car. So for the first time in quite a long time, and it may not sound like much, but to us it is, they were sentenced to 2 to 4 years in state prison, both parents. And it doesn't sound like a lot for, selling drugs in front of your children, but it's better than what we've been seeing, and at least there are some consequences. So we're hopeful when it comes to that, but that's the kind of stuff that continues to bring people back, so.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief, thanks for the report to you and the deputy. I appreciate it. Out of the 101 total arrests, how many convictions did we get last year in 2018?
That's something we have to check with the county attorney. A lot of the minor offenses are diverted to, healthcare issues or, wellness programs and substance abuse programs. So a lot of the times, if it's a simple possession case, if the first-time offender, they'll divert it to program or mental health court. So those numbers would be hard to come by, but I can definitely try looking at that for you.
Okay, so regarding the the diversion program, that gets directly to what the Hillsborough County Task Force has been working on?
No, so the court,
What, I'm probably confusing it, but they came before us to talk about a first offender program.
They're talking about drug court, I think, when we came here. And
Thank
actually,
you.
drug court, believe it or not, you would think it was for the first-time offender, but it's actually the complete opposite. It is for the offender that the continuous offense. There's plenty of recidivism I like to impress Eileen with my words. They have a high rate of recidivism, and they are living the life that, they're at the rock bottom almost. Those are the people they target in drug court, because those are people because it's pretty intensive, they're on them 24/7, they, make sure that you do that. So it's not the first-time offender. I think what the deputy is referring to is diversion is more like you have to go to a safe station, which we actually saw somebody who, they allegedly sold the drug to somebody who was dumped in our town, just dumped like a piece of trash, who passed away. They then ended up selling to other people. We let the proper authorities know, and when they got to court for charges unrelated to that death, it was another possession charge, they just sent them free, set them free and sent them to a safe station, which is very frustrating. And I understand it's a disease, and I get it, and people need help, but they want the help. And this person didn't want the help. She has since passed away, I believe, but from an overdose. And so it's just a continuous, so those safe stations, that's diversion or counseling.
So is it fair to say that Merrimack Police Department has actually transported an individual to a safe station? I'm making the assumption we're going to Nashua, because that's the closest.
The safe stations are in Nashua. We, to my knowledge, and unless you know something different, have not transported anybody to a safe station.
typically, once they go to court arraignment, if we're fortunate enough to hold them on cash bail, as you're all aware, the bail reform statute in the state has changed quite a bit. So bail commissioners in the courts are having a hard time placing people on cash bail and putting them in jail. But if they do get held over, or if they get an arraignment at a later date, at the county level, at the county superior court, they'll order them saying, hey, you're released on personal recognizance bail if you go report to a safe station within 24 hours. So that's when they usually have the contact with the safe station.
Okay. Is there, taking Nashua, Manchester, and Concord out of the equation, have you looked at any data, looking at other communities that have an SIU unit, and have you done any kind of comparisons of what those communities are doing in relation to what we've done, and are we having more success than other communities, or are we slightly below the line in comparison to other communities? Have you looked at, is there any data, I guess is the question I should ask.
Well, most departments are in the southern Hillsborough area do not, other than Nashua, Manchester, other than those, do not have a specified special investigation unit that targets drug activity and other things. So it would be hard to compare, because that's what the Hillsborough County Task Force is for.
Okay.
It's not a comparison we have made. It certainly would be easy enough to contact different agencies and see. I'm sure some detective divisions, handle the crimes, and it would be easy enough for us to find out what their numbers were throughout 2018.
As it relates to cross-jurisdictional relationships with DEA and the FBI, how did that help your SIU unit work and function in 2018 to be able to make the arrest that you made? Was it, I'm just,
Sure.
it's a good I'm assuming, and I don't like to assume, but I'm assuming that there was a good working relationship between federal agents and our.
We have,
enforcement.
and again, in a large part because of Sergeant Castle, we have a tremendous working relationship with all the federal agencies that help us with our drug activity. We had a fairly significant drug, for lack of a better terms, but people might understand it better, drug raid at a residence in
Yep.
town. And they were instrumental in helping us and making sure we had what we needed. The Hillsborough Task Force has been much more help because we can work closer with them because of the different what we do in the different smaller agencies.
Right.
But it's nothing to take away from the federal agencies. Anytime we have called them, they've been there to help us, and it's been fantastic.
And I really do not want to be stereotypical or to single single this out, but is it fair to say the majority of what the SIU has targeted has been the extended stay locations here in town? Or can you anecdotally talk about some residences or maybe a local business in town, not to?
Well,
just-
I think we would both agree that, yes, a large part of the things that they concentrate on have to do with the extended stay hotels, but it's not the only ones. You know,
Okay.
those 3 overdose deaths that we have, we also tasked the Special Investigation Unit to help investigate those, and along with the other 28 last year that we had with the 7 deaths. And those are very, very time-consuming between search warrants and talking to people, and as you can imagine, nobody's really cooperative around it. Family members, which is understandable, or their friends, so it's very difficult. So we've tasked them to help. That's why you'll notice some may say it's only 10 arrests in 3 weeks. I say that's still, with what we've asked them to do, and 10 arrests is pretty incredible. But it's a combination of both. But yes, predominantly some of the stuff that we have is at the extended stay hotels.
So lastly, do you know if the Hillsborough County Task Force has produced any type of a report that talks about their efforts of what they've done, not just in Hillsborough County this last year?
They have to do, at the end of the grant period, they have to do a final report.
Okay.
I don't have the specific numbers to that. I know the funding this year was cut a little bit, but the cooperation's still been very strong with them. Oftentimes during these investigations, it's about information sharing. So they make an arrest. It might be away from the hotel, but it might lead him back there, or it might lead him to another person in town that might be dealing. So it's always a constant cat and mouse game, basically trying to figure out where it's going to go. And some of the targets are selling to people in town here. However, they reside elsewhere. So people might be traveling up to Manchester or down Nashua to make pickups. So that's when the task force really comes in. That way we can continue our investigation in those other towns. Sergeant Castle is deputized, so that's why he serves in the task force.
So is it possible that if that report becomes, would that report be public, and if so, when, could I?
But we can certainly find out. I'm not sure exactly when it'll be.
It's more of a curiosity thing to see, not just our community, but how the task force is attacking the challenge in other communities. Obviously, you have Nashua, you have Manchester, larger
Correct.
breadth and scope, obviously, but I'm just
And
curious.
state police has their own unit too that also handles things throughout the state.
I forgot the state police, and I apologize. I'm sure you guys work closely with them as well.
Correct.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief
Bill.
Deputy.
Anything further? Thanks, guys. I appreciate it, Chief.
I
Thank you
end
very
on a
much.
happy note with a joke, but I don't know any.
Okay.
Thank you.
How's Goofy doing? Or is it Pluto?
Pluto.
Pluto, how's Pluto doing?
That's right.
Hey, it was Disney. It was Disney.
Pluto is almost ready to come home. So he's excelling at the academy.
Wonderful.
Sounds so weird to say that, but he's excelling. And he will be home soon, and perhaps we can get him to do a walkthrough.
That'd be
We'll
great.
announce it first. There won't be any surprises.
That's
When he
fun.
comes.
Is there going to be a badge pinning ceremony?
That was a good joke.
There you go. That's the joke. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks again. No public hearings. Next, updates from our legislative delegation. Hi, Rosemary.
Hello.
Hit the green button.
Got it. How's this?
Perfect.
Great. Just for the record, I'm Rosemary Rung, State Representative. I live at 21 Ministerial Drive. And I just want to give you an update on some of the public hearings and bills that are pertinent to Merrimack. And I wrote them all down. The first two, I consulted with Lynn Christensen about them. They were bills that went before the Election Law Committee. The first one was House Bill 431, which will allow anyone, despite where they live within a voting district, and Merrimack is one voting district, to work as an assistant moderator or assistant clerk at any polling place. Diane Trippett also submitted a letter in support of that bill. I help Lynn out on some elections by scheduling ballot inspectors, and it's like herding cats. And many times we find that one polling place doesn't have enough people than another, and it's difficult to swap out because you need to keep them in the polling place area. Now, this bill will pertain to assistant clerks and assistant moderators, but there's another bill that will cover ballot inspectors too. So it's really a common sense type of bill. It gives moderators more flexibility. Everybody's getting the same ballot anyway. So I'm confident that that bill will pass. The next one is HB, House Bill 408, which gives the moderator authority to postpone town meeting if dangerous conditions present themselves. And we all know what has happened with some of the towns that held the town meeting in February when we've had very severe snowstorms. There's conflicting information from the Attorney General, even from the Governor, the Secretary of State. So this kind of takes all that responsibility and puts it in the lap of the town moderator and gives her or him the authority to make that call. It's, you know, it doesn't really affect Merrimack that much because our town meeting is in April, but you never know. There's crazy weather like we're seeing today, and not as likely to, you know, experience a dangerous weather event. But the bill does include other situations, a bomb threat, a flood, anything where the town moderator, and the bill does spell out that he or she would have to consult with local police and fire and emergency personnel to be able to make that call. So I testified on that bill, and, you know, as with the other one, and one of the things Lynn had said is state and national elections are something else and not addressed or changed in any way by this bill. It only pertains to those local elections. Now, I did notice that Representative Dick Hinch documented his opposition to the bill. I don't know why. It had widespread, you know, positive testimony from town moderators all across the state. So I'm confident that bill will pass as well. The next one is HB 352, which appropriates funds to the Department of Environmental Services for the purpose of funding eligible wastewater projects under the state aid grant program. Assistant DPW Director Sarita Croce wrote a letter to the committee in support of this bill, and I documented my support of it during the hearing. And Representative Nancy Murphy actually testified in support of this, and State Senator Shannon Chanley also documented her support. I really don't have any, maybe Representative Murphy can speak more, but I really couldn't get a feel from the committee. And then the next bill, House Bill 237, I testified on behalf of a constituent who reached out to me in favor of a bill to establish a New Hampshire Rare Disease Advisory Council. This constituent suffers from 2 rare diseases, and I agree with her that an advisory council can expand understanding and solutions for the unique challenges they face. And then the bill that I submitted this year, House Bill 614, it hasn't had a public hearing yet. It's been assigned to the Science, Technology, and Energy Committee, but it's to increase fines, penalties for air permit violations. As you know, air discharge from Saint-Gobain has contributed to our groundwater contamination, and it's important that the fines are high enough to serve as a deterrent and punishment for violations. They were last updated 23 years ago, and my committee had a public hearing on Tuesday for another bill, House Bill 204, which was sponsored by Representative Janine Notter, to establish a committee to review penalties for groundwater and drinking water contamination. She referred all comments and questions to former Rep. Chris Christensen, who was there, and he spoke to the bill and provided written testimony. But he suggested that in lieu of a committee, which would delay any proposed legislation on that by at least a year, my bill could be amended to include increases to water penalties and fines as well. So it would just be, instead of mine just looking at air, it would also look at water. I have a request into legislative research now to look at specific RSAs that would be impacted to see the feasibility of that amendment.
What was that House bill again, Representative?
The House bill that I filed.
No, the one that Janine Notter filed.
That was HB 204.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, and that was just to form a committee, and I think the committee was 3 state representatives and 1 state senator.
And your bill is again?
And
Sorry.
my bill is House Bill HB 614.
Thank you.
And that bill actually increases the fine. It doubles the maximum administrative fines and doubles the penalties. And the reason I came up with that number is the multiplier for the consumer price index is about 1.7. So I just rounded it to 2. I don't like arbitrary numbers, so I wanted to have some basis and facts for that increase. And I don't know when that will be heard. It doesn't need to go to another committee, so it might be just considered a late bill. But so probably begin, maybe in about 3 weeks, probably it'll be heard. So I'd be happy to answer any of the questions.
Representative, thank you, and thank you for House Bill 614. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I think the CPI is an appropriate methodology.
Mhm.
My question to you is, have you looked at places like Maine, Vermont, Mass,
Um,
Connecticut, Rhode Island? to
We're
see what
still
they-
low. I haven't done a thorough research on them,
Okay,
but
fair enough.
from my experience in industry, New Hampshire is low. Oh, I should mention too, there is a, before I filed that bill, I had met with the commissioner and the deputy commissioner and directors from the Department of Environmental Services. They had made a request to add other language into that bill, which I did. If you look at it, administrative fines are issued by the department by violation of that, where penalties are sometimes adjudicated through Superior Court, and violations that are where a penalty is applied, the penalty is applied per day that the owner of the permit remains in violation. So let me give you an example. Let's say there's a company that has an air stack and there's a blower on the air stack and the blower breaks. Under a penalty situation, every day that blower is not working and discharge is going up through the stack in violation of the permit, that permit owner is subject to the penalty on a daily basis. But that didn't occur under administrative fines. So the department asked if I could apply that to administrative fines. So there is some language in there. So it gives air permit owners an incentive to make repairs or corrections, because if there's a mechanical failure and they fall out of their permit, they pay the fine, but then that's it. There's no incentive to make the repair to return to compliance. So every day they can be subject to the fine. And it's just language that exists under the penalty part, but we're including that now in the fine part.
Thanks, Bill. Does anybody have anything further?
Okay. I don't know if.
Thanks, Rosemary.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Hi, Wendy.
Good evening, Wendy.
Hi. Representative Wendy Thomas and well, you can do your stuff later. Nancy Murphy. Okay. Just wanted to give you an update. So far I've testified for 3 therapeutic cannabis bills. I'm getting quite a reputation up in Concord. And actually I was just interviewed this morning by NHPR for the exchange regarding the testimony that I gave for those bills. I have no idea what's going to happen with them. Could go either way. Also, Rosemary talked about the Bill 352, which was giving grants for wastewater. Representative Stack, who's not here tonight, and I both submitted we submitted written support of that bill as well for our town. The toll booth hearing has not been scheduled yet. I'll let you know when that one is. My PFAS blood testing bill has not been scheduled yet. I'm setting up a meeting with Dr. Chan and the state epidemiologist to get some information before that hearing. We met recently with Nancy and I met with Chief Roy to talk about the opioid. I think last time I was here I was telling you that I was going to do that. Basically, we heard much of what she said tonight except for the thing about Pluto. We didn't hear about that. But yeah, really, really eye-opening information. And you know, I'm not sure what we can do, but we have some ideas, and we're gonna work with Chief Roy on that. We're going to be meeting with Fire Chief Courier tomorrow, actually, to discuss about the opioid situation from the fire rescue point of view. And then Pat Murphy is to be scheduled. I don't have anything for her yet. Right before this meeting, we were up in Concord and we met with U.S. Representative Chris Pappas and U.S. Representative Annie Custer, pounding the PFAS gavel. You know, they are very aware of the situation, and every time we see them, we remind them. And this weekend also I spoke with U.S. Senator Maggie Hassan about PFAS, and she has said that she is interested in giving a statement for allowing people to get the PFAS blood testing for my bill when it comes up for a hearing. And they're interested in setting up ongoing regular meetings to discuss this. I mean, it's bubbled up. It's a top priority. The Democratic caucus is going to be meeting, I think, next week, and they've asked for the major events, the major topics that we should be focusing on, and PFAS keeps coming up. So this is going to be a statewide focus for everybody. And then lastly, I have my Hillsborough Executive Committee meeting tomorrow. It's the first time we're meeting as the Executive Committee. Still not quite sure exactly what we're doing, but I will let you know once we've been through it.
Wendy, I think this is on. I wanted to update you guys in terms of bills that I have. I have, I think it's either 10 or 11. I think it's 11 bills that I'm co-sponsoring, and there's 3 that I'm primary sponsoring. 2 of the bills that I'm primary sponsoring are environmental health protection bills. And there's a lot of support. We have senators, they're bipartisan. As I had actually asked, Representative LaRue is on a bill that I'm sponsoring that it's really one of my favorites, and it's specific to Merrimack, Bedford, and Litchfield. And I'll just give you sort of the Reader's Digest version. That's right now. It's an LSR. We don't have a number. It's establishing a commission to investigate and analyze the environmental and public health impacts relating to releases of perfluorinated chemicals in the air, soil, and groundwater in Merrimack, Bedford, and Litchfield. It's pretty extensive. This is, I believe, it's about a 7-year commission because we know this isn't going to go quickly. This commission will involve 5 members of the House of Representatives, 2 members of the Senate, Commissioner of Department of Health and Human Services, Commissioner of DES, Director of University of New Hampshire Institute for Health Policy, representative from New Hampshire Medical Society, Program Manager for the Department of Health and Human Services Environmental Public Health Tracking Program, 2 citizens with backgrounds in environmental science and public health, representative from each of the affected towns of Merrimack, Bedford, Litchfield, appointed by the governing body of each town. 3, let's say, a hydrogeologist appointed by the New Hampshire chapter of the United States Geological Survey, a toxicologist, epidemiologist, or environmental health professor from the University of New Hampshire appointed by that institution. Legislative members of the commission as well. And the goal of that, the study should include obtaining all the information, basically, to really determine the extent of the contamination. We know we're contaminated. We keep hearing the plume is changing, the contamination zone is changing. And we're talking probably around 60 square miles from what I'm understanding. So there's a lot to look at, and this isn't going to be a quick thing, but I think it's a really good bill. Representative LaRue is co-sponsor, as are Wendy and I know Kathy, but he's on that as well. There's another.
Wait a second before you go to. So when that comes up for a hearing, if any of you are available to testify, that would be really helpful because this bill is going to help our town. It's going to study it.
Yep. It's pretty comprehensive.
It's a big one. It's a huge one for our town.
And I actually met with.
She's got a question.
Yeah, do you see this tying in at all with the governor's announcement where he's setting up a commission to look at the high pediatric cancer rate in the state?
I think that has a lot to do with Mindy Mesmer's work on the Seacoast.
Seacoast.
Yeah,
And, which is great. I mean, you know, it's.
got to
it's-
start somewhere.
We're just different areas. And there's a lot of, as a matter of fact, I don't know, I didn't see the news tonight, but we had I had a hearing this morning, rules hearing, and Adam Sexton sat in at the end of it. He interviewed me, so I think it was going to be on TV tonight, and I spoke about.
We're getting around.
Well, it's just, every chance I get, I say, Merrimack, we're the largest impacted community. There hasn't been a lot of resources allocated here, and, we have needs that, we need our families to be healthy. And so I don't know what actually was on TV, but it is amazing, very different than we were a year ago. Everywhere we go, people say, oh, you guys in Merrimack, you guys have that water problem, right? So,
Yeah.
it's just a matter of also educating our own community, and I think that's happening here. People are understanding. We're spreading the information about the MVD upcoming voting for source filtration for all of our wells.
We were talking to Boy Scouts last night. They need to talk to representatives to get some kind of a badge. And it's the parents that were with them that were asking us about PFAS.
And then the other bill, there's the Merrimack bill is 617. This bill is 813. It's reestablishing the commission to study environmentally triggered chronic illness. It's my bill I'm sponsoring, but it's Mindy Mesmer's old commission that we're reestablishing to follow up on that. So that's a really good bill as well, and I think that will be helpful to us. The only other thing that I was going to say just quickly is thank you for sending that information, Sarita and
Barbara.
And Barbara, yes, sent us about the bill, the House Bill 352 about DES grants for wastewater, and it was a good opportunity to get on record and make sure they had things in their hand, so it's on public record, and I was able to speak to that. So thank you. Just keep us, because we're there physically. It's a lot easier to just pop in and see the people we need to see.
That's a tremendously effective technique. If we can go to these hearings with testimony from you guys, or printouts or maps or whatever, we can hand them in, and that's really, really effective.
Eileen?
We just want to let you know that we very much appreciate your keeping track of exactly what's going on in Merrimack and being so out there with trying to help with everything, not just the one, water type issues, which are important, but, all we have to do is just let you know, and you're right on it. And we really appreciate that.
Thank you. And I was going to say, I'd like to talk to Chief Roy. As a matter of fact, I'm on the Criminal Justice and Public Safety Committee. We have a lot of, I had mentioned in discussion with her a little bit, we have a lot of criminal justice issues that it would be nice to talk to somebody. We're doing some voting, so to have a little input from our own town.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rep. Okay, thank you, Rep.
All right, so moving on, town manager's report.
I don't have anything.
You're so wonderful. There's no consent agenda, no old business, under new business, committee appointments. Council to consider Mike Swisher's appointment as an alternate to the Conservation Commission.
So moved.
A motion by Bill Boyd. Seconded by, second by Tom Koenig.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you didn't get one. Usually they're so fast.
So question, there is nothing in our agenda
There's
packet
not,
regarding Mr. Swisher. Would either you or
Yes.
Counselor Koenig
I
care to
wish,
enlighten me about this
I
individual?
wish his letter had been put in the file,
Well,
but
we interviewed him Tuesday.
But we did, so we can bring it forward as to what was said, but it was something that could have been had at your disposal. But for me, he was one of the easiest appointments I've ever made. His credentials were top shelf. He goes out on his own and is taking coursework that will be a great asset to the Conservation Commission.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of the program, but he voluntarily went to a program that basically trains people on Conservation Commission type work.
Good for him.
And has been to a couple of the meetings, so he knows what's going on there. He's paying attention. He's in town. I think he grew up in town and moved away when he got married and has come back. And he's just happy to find a way that he can get involved and be helpful to the community.
Awesome.
Has
Awesome,
a
that's great.
7-year-old son that was with him, so, I
Yeah.
mean, he'll be around a while.
Good.
He'll be around, yeah. And he, the one course that he did was at UNH, and it was
Yeah,
I
it's a
think it was
cooperative
12
extension
weeks.
program or something. It was
One-
12 weeks, Friday, all day Friday
all
or
day
something
Friday
like
for
that.
12 weeks, so it was pretty intense.
It's a really investment.
And, yeah, absolutely. He's hardcore committed already.
And that was through the extension program at UNH?
I do believe
I
it
believe
was.
so, yeah.
Intensive on how to be a Conservation Commission member?
Something to that effect.
Interesting.
So, yeah, so we, but Gage Perry was there as well,
Good.
Chairman of Conservation, and
Good.
Seemed excited to have him join the team
Absolutely.
as well,
Perfect.
so.
so we're all, the three of us were on board, and we're asking for you to support that.
So we're looking for, his appointment's gonna be for an alternate position, because that's all that's open right now.
Yep.
But gets him on board, gets him involved, and as an alternate, they are allowed to interact with all of the discussion, they just don't have a vote unless there's an opening in the normal board.
And what is this term for?
3 years.
Is it
Yeah,
a full 3?
Yep, wait a minute, get it right here. It is alternate for 3 years, yes.
Okay.
All right, so any further discussion on this? I'll call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. And by the way, because I just said 6, I realized it's not 7. Pete Albert has been excused for the evening. I apologize for not mentioning that earlier. All right. All right, next on the agenda, the council will consider a request from the Wildcat Falls Subcommittee to hold a full moon snowshoe hike on Tuesday, February 19th, from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m., which falls outside the authorized times to remain in any town conservation area in accordance with Chapter 111,
Yeah.
Conservation Areas of the Merrimack Town Code. And so here this evening is Gina. Thank you, Gina. Who are you?
Thank you, Gina. How are you?
Oh, Karen Labonte. Couldn't think of the other name. Gina Rosati and Karen Labonte are here to
Good evening.
speak with us. Thank you for coming.
Good evening.
Although I don't know
Thank
that you
for having
had to, because I did read Chapter 111 there, that quick letter A, I think it was. But I'm glad you're here for 2 reasons. One, we now know what your plans are, and 2, I think it's good for people to hear about it. So,
Well, thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for having us on a lighter note. Appreciate all the
Yeah.
efforts that are being made in our town on many other different fronts. But my name is Karen Labonte from 25 Sand Hill Drive here in town. And this is,
Gina Rosati from 15 Dunbarton Drive, also on the Merrimack Conservation Commission.
Just so that people at home can hear. Thanks.
yeah, so we were, the wonderful resources that we have, natural resources, take advantage of those as we can throughout Merrimack in particular. It's a great town. You don't have to go too far to enjoy your nature and be peaceful out there. So we're just seeking permission for a time extension for this event. We're looking for a full moon snowshoe hike in the Wildcat Falls Conservation Area on Tuesday, February 19th from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. So understandably that we have the conservation areas, there's a rule of conduct for chapter 111, and it is a town code, so we're appealing to you folks for an extension on that for this event.
Perfect.
So one of the issues that Peter Albert had come up with was the parking, because we cannot park down in the Courier parking lot. So his suggestion was that we park at the end of West Chamberlain. There is a cul-de-sac. Cars can, if we get 10 people for this, that's going to be fantastic. Normally, we don't have a huge turnout, so, I mean, that cul-de-sac can comfortably fit, a number of cars, I would say.
I was actually just trying to think of,
Yeah.
And unlike the other conservation areas, we do not have, that's a wonderful parking lot at the end of Courier Road there. It's a great access. However, the neighbors are there as a courtesy to them as well, that we're looking at finding an alternative spot.
Yeah, we will
So-
not be parking there. So the suggestion was to park at the end of West Chamberlain on the cul-de-sac. And then what we would do is we would There's a trail that goes through, and then we'd cross over the Merrill's Marauder onto the state-owned land, and then from there we would enter the Wildcat Falls town-owned land. So
And it's a good location to park as well.
it's Peter Albert approved.
People, that's a wonderful thing. Eileen?
Where might people get further information on that? Where you meet and all those kinds of things? Because
If
we'd be
once
happy to
it's-
post it
Okay,
on our
that would be
website as
wonderful.
well.
Yeah, once it's approved, we would put it on the merrimack.outdoors.org website, which is the
Send it on over
conservation.
to us and we'll do it too.
Yes, that would be
Okay.
great. And then I'm sure that there is a separate, not related to us, Facebook page, also called Merrimack Outdoors, and I'm sure you could put it on there too.
Yep, and then we, as a courtesy, we just try to post that at the kiosk for people that are outdoorsy, that are, out enjoying nature as well. And then, excuse me for not remembering the officer's name that was with you this evening. Deputy LeVay. Deputy LeVay had mentioned that there was a list that we could get of neighboring. So even if we did something at West Chamberlain for parking, I believe that there's some condominium areas there, so we could just make an extra effort to make notice, to the public through posting on websites as well, or even just let that specific community know that we're going to be holding this event as a courtesy, so.
Yeah, just let us know. We'll be happy to do what you
Okay.
need.
Okay.
Thank you.
All righty. And moving forward in the future, if we wanted to do one of these events out at Wildcat Falls, could we ask you for a blanket approval of this, or would you want us to come before the board or come before this commission?
Actually, I think
Every
it's
time.
it's good for us to know about it. I don't think you had to come here tonight. I just thought it was a nice idea all around, but, because it says, unless I'm reading it wrong, but it says the rules of conduct, no person shall remain, stay or loiter in any conservation area during the period from 1/2 hour before sunset to 1/2 hour before sunrise, after sunset to 1/2 hour before sunrise, except under authorization of the Conservation Commission
Or its
or its
designated
designated agents.
agents.
So they themselves,
Could have, okay.
you what's that? Yeah, and I think it's good for all those reasons, as well as the publicity part is also, but, so, I
Okay.
don't know what.
I'm
Eileen
sorry, there was
thinks.
just, for me, just in seeing that there was a Merrimack Town Code, I don't know how that differentiates between our Conservation Commission giving us permission to do these things as opposed to it.
Yeah,
the legis-
what do you
Yes,
think?
I think the Conservation Commission can,
Okay.
but if you could just connect with me or my office and let us know.
Very good.
I can give you my card if you want it.
Yeah.
And, as each event comes up, I'll just make it in my announcements with the council and those kinds of things, because I'm sure there'll be great things that you're doing.
And this will also be one of those, we are going to need an act of God, especially the way the weather has been going. We're going to need snow,
You're gonna
and
need
we're going to need a
sneakers.
clear night, because you really do need that full moon.
Right.
Don't write it off yet. I mean, from what I'm hearing of the weather patterns and all that good stuff, there's really good chances of some more extreme storms coming through, and then some hot weather, and then some more cold.
New England at its finest, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. So
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much.
I think it's a great thing you're offering.
it's a great idea. And I hope we can get the information out there. And are you planning to meet at West Chamberlain, or are you?
Sorry.
Well, you're gonna meet at the parking area right down there at the end of West
At West
Chamberlain?
Chamberlain and go from there?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll meet as a group, and we might want to, people RSVP for this, so that we know
Okay.
how many people, because we don't want to leave anybody behind if there's stragglers.
Very good.
We can't hear
Yeah,
you
they
when
couldn't
you,
hear, so-
when you look sideways, so if
Oh,
you
I'm
want to
sorry.
repeat that.
We will probably want people to RSVP for this event, so that we don't leave any
Know how many.
stragglers behind.
Yep, good. Bill,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Gina and Karen, thank you so much. This is dynamite, because I think the clear nights that we've had, God bless you, some of the clear nights that we've had and the way that the moon has been from the blood wolf to that full moon, it was just absolutely gorgeous. The one thing that I would ask you to consider is actually parking at the high school, because I think the lighting is much better there, and I'm more concerned about safety for people getting back to their cars, being able to get to a well-lit vehicle as opposed to being on West Chamberlain or at Courier Road, which that particular night does tend to be dark. And I think any neighborhood concerns would be mitigated by parking at the high school. But I'm not going to micromanage it, just wanted to,
Okay, that's an excellent
Ask that you consider
suggestion.
that.
Thank you.
so, thank you very much. I hope it's successful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Is there anything further?
Any other questions?
Do we need to vote on, should we do that? Or-
Mr. Chairman, let's codify it. I move that the town council approve the request from the Wildcat Falls Subcommittee to hold a full moon snowshoe hike on Tuesday, February 19th, from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m., which falls outside of the authorized times to remain on any town conservation area in accordance with Chapter 111 Conservation Areas of the Merrimack Town Code, and that furthermore, that they coordinate with the appropriate agents in town to ensure the success and the safety of the event.
Motion by Councilor Bill Boyd, seconded by Barbara. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain.
Nancy abstains because she's
5-0-0. Nancy had stepped out for just a moment. Thank you very much, and good luck. Sounds like
Thank
it's
you
going to
very
be a great
much.
time.
Seriously,
Sure.
sounds like a great time.
Thank you.
Okay.
You,
Next item
got a lot
on
of
the
backup here,
agenda
buddy.
was mine. It was noted as bicycle recycling, which was about as best a description as we could put. But I was approached a few weeks ago by a friend who lives in Dublin, and there's a couple there who they collect bicycles, part bikes, all new bikes, old bikes. They take parts and put it together to make a complete bike, and then twice a month, they send a container over to Syria. And the group that they do this with is called New Day Syria. And so I haven't had direct contact with Edie and Jeff Powell, who are the people in Dublin that my acquaintance had referred me to. We've texted back and forth. Their quick word to me in a text message was that, bear with me here, sorry. I had it ready and it disappeared. It's, okay, she thanked me for possibly bringing this forward. It says, their son died October 2017, and her husband Jeff has gotten very involved in this project. And he said that they'll take bikes in any size and any condition, and they collect them, tag them, and then once they're made whole, they send them to a warehouse in Derry, and they're loaded into a container, and they send 2 containers per month from Boston Harbor to, I don't know if it's Idlib, Syria. It's in northern Syria. And they, so anyhow, the New Day, off their website, their little mission was, the New Day Syria is a nonprofit, non-governmental organization working to secure sustainable aid in a dignified manner for Syrian mothers and children, all the while fostering an understanding across perceived differences. And they had a couple of projects that I read about in there. That one was providing shelter for woman-headed households to secure safety for the mothers and the children, and protecting them from external dangers. It didn't elaborate on those, but I can only imagine, as well as they have harsh, severe winters up in that part of Syria also. Another one was New Day Syria had renovated a large water pump system in northwestern Syria to provide drinkable, clean water for 40,000 people. And so this is just a little side, segment that Jeff and Edie Powell have taken on. So, in bringing it to you, the town does get a small revenue from it. The first part was in recycling. They anticipated about $400, but there was another component that Eileen mentioned to me today, that of auctioning off the bikes, which I didn't know our PD was still doing auctions, but.
So the idea is that we bring in about 200 bikes a year in various condition into the transfer station, according to Steve Dumas. And he said, what did he say, $200 that he gets for those?
No, he said he estimated about $400 revenue.
$400 that he gets for those. I think he for the steel or whatever it is that he sells them for. And as far as the bike auction goes, those are a whole different set of bikes. They're bikes that that they find on the side of the road, or they're stolen, or those kinds of things. They have an auction on that. The ones that we were talking about are the ones that are just, people bring to the transfer station as a different group of bikes. So
Okay.
the 200 is an accurate number
Okay.
that would be available, yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I bring it forward. As far as logistics, I would want, Steve Dumas and, Public Works to have their conversation with what might work. They don't want it to be an inconvenience in any fashion to the town. I don't want it to be an inconvenience to those guys at the transfer facility. And so the big component was, in fact, that because it is a little revenue, I just wanted to bring it here for a conversation and the iron out of the details as far as pickup and everything. I don't have that direct information yet. So, yes.
I'd be supportive of the idea. I mean, last night we were talking about philosophy and what our town does for ourselves. I certainly think that $200 is something we can spare.
400.
Oh, we can spare 400. Based upon the honorable outcome of being able to do that for the people of Syria. So I would certainly support your endeavor.
Okay, I appreciate it. Bill?
I agree with Council Harrington. Just want to hear the logistics as to how we're going to make it work, but I think it's a great idea. There are so many different organizations that are taking bikes that are no longer being used, they're fixing them up, they're rehabbing them, they're giving to kids in all sorts of different challenges that they're going on in their life. So I think it's a great idea. I really do. So I would be supportive of it as well.
So, so as far as the pickup and everything, I would rather be out of that loop and let everybody deal with that, but I can make that further connection if it's so approved. But, so, I don't know what you need if we,
I think you have a consensus.
perfect, well, I definitely appreciate it. All right. Next on the agenda is ratification of collective bargaining agreement. Bear with me. New England, is it Police Benevolent Association 112, and the town of Merrimack have a tentative agreement in front of us. It's the agreement, the big parts of the agreement are, it's a duration of 1 year contract from July 1st, 2019 to June 30th, 2020. The wage adjustment would be 2% effective July 1st, 2019. We do have a wage schedule involved in here. A training stipend, any dispatch who is assigned to train a new employee shall receive $1 an hour increase for the hours dedicated and required to train the new employees until such time as the administration deems the new employee qualified to function without the trainer. And the tentative agreement also includes other small benefit and language changes specific to the needs of the group as well as the town. Eileen?
What I want to say, this is another very good contract. They were very easy to work with and cooperative. And they came to the table very late, so we weren't able to iron out the things that we wanted to do, that they wanted to do, potentially change their schedules and stuff like that. So they decided that they would prefer to just do a 1 year contract. And I'd just like to point out that in all of these contracts, we have required that the unions sign off on protecting the town against the Cadillac tax fines that would come in. So every single union has something in their contract saying if they reach the level of Cadillac tax and a penalty is going to be imposed on the town, then they will change their health insurance to the next, the one that is most comparable to them, that brings them under the Cadillac tax. So I just think it's important. Who knows if it's all going to come in, when it's going to come in, or whatever, but it's something that's important to make sure that we protect the town.
Right, because that's a 40% penalty, is it not?
40%, yeah.
Yeah, substantial. Does anybody have anything for Eileen or Paul? Nope. I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Oh, go ahead.
Make it. You started. You go.
Mr. Chairman,
Rock, paper, scissors.
I move that the town council ratify the tentative agreement reached with the NEPBA 112 police dispatchers and office staff, which includes a net cost of $11,184, so that the tentative agreement may be put on the warrant for voter approval at town meeting.
Second.
Motion by Counsel Boyd, seconded by Barbara. Would you like to speak further to your motion, Bill?
Very quickly for either Eileen or Paul, the impact to the tax rate is less than a penny, is that correct?
Yeah, third.
Yes, it's $11,184 approximately, and $34,000 is a penny on the tax rate, so it's a third of a penny.
Third of a penny. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Bill. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you very much, and please thank them for working with us. We appreciate it. Next item, you have two sets of minutes, approval minutes from the meeting on January 9th, 2019.
Mr. Chairman, I move the town council meeting minutes of Wednesday, January 9th, 2019 as presented.
Second.
Motion by Counsel Boyd, second by Nancy Harrington. No changes, so everything all set on those minutes? Call the question. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 600. January 10th minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I would move the Thursday, January 10th, 2019 town council meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Counsel Boyd, seconded by Nancy Harrington. Any changes, adjustments? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 600. Comments from the press? Comments from the public? Comments from the council? Billy?
Go Patriots.
Oh, that's right. You'd be after.
You saw the map. Mad, not mad.
Yes, yes.
So, thanks, Bill. Nothing further?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Counsel Thornton, seconded by Counsel Boyd. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you very, very much.